the great thing about the Eagles is that they put the right pieces around him. You got a running back. You got one of the better offensive lines in the league. You got a good tight end in Dallas Goedert. You got a first-round pick in Devontae Smith. You got a great all-star type of receiver in A.J. Brown. Offensively, you're not going to get any more weapons than that. So now it's about Jalen Hurts. And here's the question. He hasn't been able to have consistency from the offensive coordinator, coach angle, meaning having the same guy 2 years in a row, probably since he was at Alabama. Now, how much better can you be this year that you have Nick Sirianni for 2 years straight?
Hey, man, we've had some really great Eagles and legendary Eagles on the program this week. Seth was on for over an hour with me yesterday. Hollis Thomas is going to be with me on Friday. And, you know, I was stalking Brian Westbrook's Twitter, and I saw all of his teammates that he had from the early 2000s. So one thing that I'm learning about the Philadelphia Eagles, it is a tremendous brotherhood. And we bring Brian Westbrook on with us right now. And, Brian, I got to thank you for coming aboard. Dude, I was stalking your Twitter page, and I'm going to take you back here. And I'll never forget, because Jerome Brown told me when he got to Philadelphia, he said, Sills, there's no community, there's no team that I've ever played for outside of my Canes teams and with you guys that I've ever seen anything like it. It's a pretty cool fraternity, isn't it, Brian, to be part of that Eagle family?
You know what it is? It's a brotherhood. It truly is. And every time that we have an opportunity to come together and get together as competitors, as friends, as brothers, as a family, it's a beautiful thing. And last week for the Brian Dawkins Foundation, his Impact Foundation, just a great event. But, you know, just being around the guys, and you know the feeling when you're around the guys, in the locker room with the guys, old things start to come up. You start playing all those crazy jokes on each other and talking about each other. And that's the good old days. And those are the memories that you always take with you. You know, I tell people all the time, hopefully you leave the game with a couple of dollars, you know, some money in your pocket. We 100% sure will leave with some injuries. The most important thing that you leave the game with is some memories. And when you bring back everyone, especially in the Philadelphia Eagles locker room, that brotherhood, that family, it's a special feeling, and we enjoyed it last week.
I'm going to make a comment to you here that if you were playing in today's NFL, let me see. Let me get the calculator out. Here, let me go like this here. I would say this. With a guy who was a tremendous pass catcher, a guy who ran the ball as tough as you did in between the tackles, I don't know, there's like a 20 in there somewhere. I tell you, I mean, Brian, you were like ahead of your time, because when you see the running backs today, Alvin Kamara kind of had your game on what you did when you were back with the Eagles in the 2000s. Talk about the change in how the running back position is today compared to when it was back in the day. 28 carries, 150 yards like Emmett. It's completely revolved around what's today's guy, right? Catching the ball and running the ball.
Well, yeah, those days, and really, you know, right at the beginning of my career, Marshall was doing it. I mean, and he had the ability to change the course of games quickly because of his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield as well as run it. I was doing it a little bit there. LaDainian was doing it. And then you pass over guys like Adrian Peterson and some of the other guys. But now you have guys, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, different guys around the league that have the ability to change the course of a game very, very quickly by catching the ball out of the backfield, by being multiple. And really, for me, it was all about, I never wanted to come off the field. I don't want to give coach a reason to come off for me to come off the field. And when I think about it, it really goes back for me. When I first started, they said, listen, you're just a special teamer. You're just a third down back. And I fought that my entire career because I wanted to be more to the team than just those things. And now when you look at what running backs do, you say, hey, you're going to have 15 carries in the game, but we want you to have 7 or 8 catches. That's how this offense becomes explosive. And that's what I tried to do back in the day when I was playing. And so, you know, we were kind of ahead of the curve, but, you know, that's where teams are going to. You have to be multiple. You have to get defenses off balance. And we were able to do that if you have a running back that can do both.
You know, Brian, to me, I think what fans don't realize, what keeps you on the field, which is funny, and I would imagine that this is what kept you on the field also. Why is it so hard for running backs to understand blocking assignments and picking up like linebackers blitzing, or you get a dog from a free safety or strong safety. I mean, you look at the guy, Rashad Penny in Seattle. He can't stay on the field for two things, health, and he can't pick up blitzers.
Yeah.
Why is that such a major problem when it comes to young players at that position?
Well, when I go ask my kids to go wash the dishes, they do such a terrible job that I don't ask them to do it anymore. And it's a want to. They don't want to wash the dishes. So the job that they do is absolutely terrible. And what running backs have to understand in this league, this was told to me my first year. Listen, if you don't protect number 5, then I guarantee you will not play. There's 2 things you had to do for me when I came to the league. Hold on to the football. Obviously, you can't put the ball on the ground. And you got to protect number 5. And part of protecting number 5 is understanding defenses, understanding our scheme, and being at the right place at the right time. And that was something that I took to heart. And again, I knew that I would become more and more valuable to our team if I was a much more well-rounded running back. I'm more valuable to the passing game if I can catch the ball out of the backfield. But more importantly, if there's a blitz, I can pick up a blitz. I'm more valuable to the running game and the team if I can run the ball efficiently. Oh, and then if it's a passing down, I can catch the ball too. That keeps me on the field. I always wanted the team to feel that there was a void when I was off the field. And a big part of that is pass blocking. And so I wanted to pass block. I got better at that. That was something that I worked on every single day. And quite honestly, most running backs in today's game, they feel like, oh, I don't get paid to pass block. I get paid to get yards, because that doesn't show up in your stats. And when it's time for contracts, those things don't show up. I believe that my value wasn't just in the stats that you see. My value is when you take me off the field, now the team suffers. And I think that I was able to achieve that throughout my career.
Absolutely here. I'm going to ask you about Miles Sanders and the current Eagles here. His contract is up this year, and he's going into his final season here. He's the highest paid guy in the huddle outside of A.J. Brown with their new addition. He's making $2.5 million. He's been often injured here. Just your perspective here. Even if he has a decent season here, do you think he's the future running back of this football team? Would you extend him? Or would you look at him and say, we'll give you an offer, and if not, we'll go into the draft and find someone else? How do you look at Miles Sanders?
Well, first of all, I always start with the money. And when I say $2.5 million, which is a lot of money, let's not get that twisted. That's a lot of money. But for someone that's in theory is going to touch the ball 20 to 25 times a game, that's nothing. And that's how the devaluation of the running back position has gone in the NFL. So that kind of is sad in my mind. But I think Miles Sanders has all the talent in the world to be one of the better running backs in the league. Unfortunately, he hasn't tapped into that totally yet. In order for Miles to be valued like one of the top talented backs in the league, like I think he is, he has a talent to be, because he's fast, he's strong, he's explosive, he has a shiftiness, he can get in and out of the hole. He has to do a couple things. He has to learn how to catch the ball much, much better, much more fluid in the passing game than he has been. We just talked about all the backs that are getting money, Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, they catch the ball out of the backfield. They're a big part of the passing game. So he has to figure a way out to do that. The other thing, he has to be able to learn consistently how to make that first person miss. If you can do that in the NFL, it takes your average from 3 yards a carry to 5. Consistently make that first man miss. And I think he has the talent to be able to do that. Last but not least, this is a hard part for running backs, is stay healthy. He has to stay on the field. The more that he's able to be on the field, the more that people around the league will be able to see how good of a player he actually is, and the more touches he's actually going to get. Unfortunately, as soon as he's getting going these last couple of years, he's fallen injury. I mean, he's fallen to injuries, and that's just hard. And so, listen, injuries are part of the game. There's nothing that he's doing to make himself get injured, but he has to find a way to play through some of those things if it's possible. And if he does it, I think he has all the talent. So when you talk about will he be the guy after this year, it's really going to come down to how he does this year. If he plays in 10 games, he will not be the guy next year. If he can get himself up to 14, 15 games, he's going to be good enough and put up enough stats to be the guy next year. So I would feel very positive as long as he plays enough games that he'll be the guy in the following season.
Brian, I talked to Eric Dickerson about this years ago. His first 2 years in the NFL, he had 4,000 yards. And I asked him, I go, what was the biggest issue that you had when you came in? He goes, it's conditioning. When you're a running back, your conditioning is going to prevent you from getting hurt. And if you're not training hard enough, he goes, I got 300 carries my first year. Oh my God, I was out of gas by week 14. And I knew that I had to stay in shape. Do you think that that's also a part of injury reduction, is to make sure, because that running back position, especially a multi-guy like you, dude, you're blocking, you're out in the screen game, you're out on the perimeter, you're in the slot sometimes, you're running in between the tackles. Of all the positions on the team, you've got to have maybe the most condition to have injury prevention. Do you agree with that?
Well, you certainly have to be well conditioned. I mean, you just do. And no matter what position you play in the NFL, you have to be well conditioned. And at the running back position, you're going to be getting hit from all different angles. That's the hard part. Usually, if you're an offensive tackle, you know where the guy is coming from. The guy's right in front of you. The hard part, this is where tackles get injured, is when they get blindsided from the side, right? That's when they get the knees and the ankles and everything like that. That's when they get injured. The hard part for the running back is when you go through that hole, some of these guys are ear holding you. You don't see those guys coming. That's where things get a little bit ugly for you. And so I think, when we talk about Miles, I think he's conditioned well enough. But again, part of the NFL is playing through some stuff. Part of the NFL is being a fast healer. That's just what it is. And a big part of the NFL, especially at the running back position, is being able to say, yeah, you know what, I'm at 60 and I got to play like I'm at 100. And sometimes that's a mental thing. That has nothing to do with your physical makeup. It's a mental thing. And that's that you go into Monday after the game and you say, you know what, yeah, I'm banged up. I don't feel good. But I'm playing on Sunday. So it ain't nothing that's going to happen. I'm going to soak up as much treatment as I possibly can, but I'm playing on Sunday no matter what. That's the mindset that you have to have consistently. And really, I would say that about any position in the NFL, because injuries is part of the game, but especially the running back position.
Are you a Jalen Hurts fan?
I am a Jalen Hurts fan. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have his flaws. I think he has the ability to be better. The one thing that I'm excited about Jalen Hurts this year, first of all, he's a worker. He's going to work his butt off. So he's going to put in the work to become better. I think he's also honest enough with himself to say, I got to be an improved passer for this team to be good. The great thing about the Eagles is that they put the right pieces around him. You got a running back. You got one of the better offensive lines in the league. You got a good tight end in Dallas Goedert. You got a first-round pick in Devontae Smith. You got a great all-star type of receiver in A.J. Brown. Offensively, you're not going to get any more weapons than that. So now it's about Jalen Hurts. And here's the question. He hasn't been able to have consistency from the offensive coordinator, coach angle, meaning having the same guy 2 years in a row, probably since he was at Alabama. Now, how much better can you be this year that you have Nick Sirianni for 2 years straight? How much better can you get? Because, in the NFL, here's a weird part. As an athlete, you're saying, I'm good. I'm good here. I can make it. I'm good enough. I'm good enough. And the truth is, there are areas where you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm not good enough. I got to improve in these areas. And I believe that Jalen Hurts is the type of person that's going to say, I'm going to improve in these areas. And now that I have these weapons, there's no other excuses, because the Eagles have put him in a good position for him. It's either you're gonna do great and be successful and be the franchise guy, or you're gonna fail. And if you fail, you have to understand that means you may not get another opportunity in Philadelphia. And so it's a tough position to be in, but it's a good position to be in because you have everything that you need to be successful. Now you have to go out there and do the work and put in the work and make sure that it shows on Sundays. And I think Jalen Hurts will be able to do that. Now, will he be able to win you games consistently with his arm? I don't know that. We haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen enough of that yet. And until we see enough of that, the decision on his future in Philadelphia won't be made.
Couple last questions for you, Brian. I mean, really awesome stuff, and thank you so much. The one thing I'll say, too, about a player like Jalen Hurts, I think the other question's got to be, now that you add A.J. Brown, got Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, got a great running game, number one running attack in the NFL, Nick Sirianni, how much does he have to improve also as a play caller and getting those pieces all in place? Because I tell people this all the time, Brian. The NFL is it's like a chessboard here. Putting all those right pieces together, it's not the easiest thing. You can have the most talent of any team in the NFL. We've seen like the 2011 Eagles. They brought all those guys in, and they could never really put the pieces in the right place to be effective, like say you guys did in the early 2000s? How much is this on Nick too, to find that right dynamic to get everybody involved, and what challenging that is for him?
There is a secret sauce. There's a reason why coaches like Andy Reid continue to figure it out. Coaches like Kyle Shanahan continue to figure it out because they got a sense of how to get their playmakers the ball in space. I used to have this conversation with Andy Reid almost daily. I felt like, and it was like, okay, how can I make sure that Westbrook touches the ball where he has enough room to make two people miss? And if he does that, it's a home run. It's a touchdown. That's his thought process. I'll never forget when Mike Vick came out of prison, Andy Reid had all these cue cards that he had set on the beach and just was drawing up plays for Michael Vick just to get him in space, just to get their playmakers the ball at the right time. And that's what Nick Sirianni has to do. He has to figure out, and I think he did a decent job of it last year. Again, you had a team that won 9 games last year that everyone expected them to win 5 or 6. So, and that was with a quarterback that they didn't have a great season, right? So it's still kind of weird that happened. I think Nick has grown. He continued to grow in the NFL fashion. The greatest thing that I saw from Nick Sirianni last year, it was very, very simple. They came out at the beginning of the year and they wanted Jalen Hurts to be Phillip Rivers, and they wanted him to be, Andrew Luck. And
they were 2-5.
Yeah, he proved that he couldn't do that. Nick Sirianni said, okay, I'm going to swallow my pride. I'm going to swallow everything that I thought was going to happen and work in the NFL, and we're going to go back to a running team. We're going to play to his strengths. So he is not one of these guys who's going to say, it's my offense and it's my way. He's one of these guys that says, what's the best way to win? How do I get production? What's the best thing for this offense and the player? What fits the guys that I have here the best? And we're going to play football like that. That's why I have a lot of confidence in Nick Sirianni.
I want to ask you about Andy Reid. When you played for him and the relationship that I see with him and Patrick Mahomes, and I guess where I'm going with this is, do you think he's a better coach today, having learned the things and dealing with you guys and the disappointments and some of the things, maybe being more patient with what he's doing in Kansas City compared to what he did in Philadelphia? Or do you see the same guy? Is there a subtle difference in him? Because to me, again, people question 2 minutes going into halftime, 2-minute drills at the end of games, stuff like that, postseason play calling, all of that. Again, does he look different to you in Kansas City than what he did when he was with you in Philly?
Well, I mean, if you're a Hall of Fame coach, which Andy Reid obviously is, you don't stop learning. That learning process is all the time. So there's no doubt in my mind that Andy Reid is always learning. But and here is the beauty, and I think last year we saw the curse of Andy Reid. He trusts his players. He trusted Patrick Mahomes to throw the ball away. I think it was before the half, and he didn't. and they ran out of clock. I can't remember fully. I think they ran out of time, and so he trusts. Well, why wouldn't he? If I had someone with the ball in their hands like Patrick Mahomes, I'm going to trust that guy to make the right decision. Unfortunately, he made the wrong decision there. So I think he trusts his players. I think he continues to get better. Is he the same guy at the core? Yes, but truthfully, he's continued to get better. He has evolved that offense to a place where it just runs so smoothly. I mean, it looks almost like a video game out there. Now, I want to see what happens without Tyreek Hill this year. I'm sure he'll find a way to find somebody else that runs a 4-2 to fill in that role. But there's only one Tyreek Hill in this league, right? So we understand that, and we understand the dilemmas that defenses have when you have Tyreek Hill streaking down the field, Patrick Mahomes being able to get the ball up and down to him. And let's say they double team that. Then you have Travis Kelce underneath working every other route in the world. So there's a difference going to happen for that offense this year. But when you talk about Andy Reid, a master of creating space, a master of getting people open, and he knows where you want the ball and how to get the ball to you. And of course, you have a quarterback that has the ability to get it to you. He was able to do that with so many people in Philadelphia. He's able to take it to the next level in Kansas City.
Finally here, I asked Curt Schilling this the other day. I asked Seth this. I asked all the guys that played in this city, and I'm learning now because we're based in Philly. I had Keith Byers on too, and I was talking to Keith about it too. And Keith's like, man, I'll tell you what, whatever people want to say, man, I'm an Eagle. And talk to me just a little bit about playing in front of that fan base. You know, I think they get a bad rap. I think they're educated. I think they're some of the best fans I've ever seen in my life. And boy, I'll tell you what, Brian, I've never seen a fan base that watches film going, hey, did you see that screenplay the other day? I mean, why would you call that? And I'm going like, this is like a college atmosphere in the way that fan base acts. Just a little bit in perspective in closing on what it was like for you playing in front of these dudes.
Well, as a player, what you don't want to answer is questions, these dumb questions from fans that have these dumb questions that have nothing to do with the game. And that's not what you get in Philadelphia. What you get in Philadelphia is a passionate fan base. That's number one. There's a lot of passionate fan bases, quite honestly, in the NFL. But not only are they passionate, they're knowledgeable. They want the best for the team. They'll let you know, hey, that's not the best. Dawkins always used to say that, so I'd say this, and I think I'll absolutely steal it from him. He would say, our fan base wants you to play to the level that if they had helmets and shoulder pads on, that they would play to. And that's kind of scary when you think about some of the people that you see there. I mean, it's a great fan base, great people, supportive. And when I say supportive, I see the support that the people in Buffalo give their team on and off the field, especially with some of the donations and all the support they get there. I would say the same thing for the people in Philadelphia. On and off the field, they love their athletes, they love their sports, they love their city, and all they want, and of course, we all win championships. Every city wants a championship, but what we want more than ever is our sport figures to represent us as civilians in our community. That's what we want. And if you go do that on the field, you'll be beloved in that city forever. And that's the big reason why I love Philadelphia.
No question about it, dude. I thank you so much for coming on and doing this, man. By the way, you always see this when I say, hey, I'm getting this guy on, I'm working on getting a couple other guys on like Keith Jackson and, you know, some of the guys that I know back in my time when I played in the league. And when I go, you're getting Westbrook? Oh my God, he's one of my top 3 guys. Dude, you and Dawkins and that group, I mean, they just absolutely love you. And by the way, I have to ask you one last one, please. I asked Seth this, Eric Allen. You think he's getting job when it comes to not being in the Hall of Fame?
One of the best cornerbacks that have played in this league, period. The numbers support it. The type of person that Eric Allen is supports him being in the Hall of Fame. Yearly, I am amazed that he gets passed over. This is my opinion. He's not a guy that's going to talk. He doesn't need to tell you about his game. He doesn't need to tell you about who he is. What he was as a player and is as a man is a great father, great man, great husband. I'm sure all of those things. You can see all those things. And humble, prideful. When Eric, even when I see him now, walks into the room, you wouldn't know that he played football. Wouldn't even know that he was there unless someone says Eric Allen is there. And that's probably why, more than anything, he's not in the Hall of Fame. But when you look at the numbers and the stats and his impact on the game, there's no doubt that he should be in the Hall of Fame. It's the Hall of Fame is political.
Yeah. It's a popularity contest too.
Yep.
I go like this the other day to someone. I go, no disrespect to Leroy Butler, but do you really think Leroy Butler was a Hall of Fame dude over Eric Allen? And I go like this. Mm-hmm. Hey, Butler was an FSU guy, and you go, you hate the FSU guys because you're a Cane. I'm like, no, but Leroy Butler, man, I never looked at that dude during your time as a Hall of Famer, but I always looked at Eric Allen as a guy who was a Hall of Famer. It's such a popularity contest. Guy gives a good speech for another guy. I don't know, man. I want
to see on my Hall of Famers? I want to know that they're game changers, that every game that they played in, that they changed the course of the game. I'll tell you this, and I'll use Dawkins, and he's probably he is a great example. But when you walk on the field with Dawkins, everybody knows that he's a game changer. Everybody on that opposing team knows that when 20 is around, there's going to be a problem, whether he's blitzing, whether he's back in the secondary, whether he's just tackling you in the middle of the field. That's a Hall of Famer. Eric Allen has those same type of credentials, certainly did the same type of thing on the defensive side of the ball. it's unfortunate that he's not getting recognized in the way that he should be.
Well, you're one of the most revered guys in the city of Philadelphia for sure, and I see why now. You love the city. You loved your game. You're a legend in that city. And by the way, man, I told you, like I said, if you played in today's game, I'd be breaking the bank on you, man. Christian McCaffrey would not be making that money. I think it might be you. Brian, thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. Hopefully we can do it again, my friend.
Thanks so much for having me. Talk soon.
You got it. That is Brian Westbrook. And yeah, man, can you imagine him in today's NFL with the way that, they're looking for versatility at catching the football, running in between the tackles as well. Incredible, man. Just absolutely incredible. Okay. Hey, my friends, don't forget Morgan & Morgan, where the fee is free. That means this, okay? You get the opportunity once again to sit there and know that you picking an attorney is one of the most important things you possibly can do, okay? If you get hurt or injured on the job, one of the most important things is this: finding that attorney, making sure that you have the proper things for you and your family. For the people, it's not just a slogan, it is who they are. With over 800 attorneys and offices in Philadelphia, New York, and across the country, this is what Morgan & Morgan does. The call is free, and again, the consultation is free. 800-512-1600. That's 800-512-1600. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And do me a favor, when you call them, tell them Big Sil sent you.
When choosing a lawyer for your injury case, you may ask, does the size of the law firm matter? Well, of course it does. The insurance company, they're huge with unlimited resources. And whether your case is big or small, they're built to bully you out of the money you're owed. But here's the good news. We're big too, the biggest actually. And we're built to fight to make them pay for all that was taken from you. Size is our strength. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com.